Good evening, families of Board District 5, and welcome to the Reclassification Town Hall. My name is Jackie Goldberg, and I am proud to be your board member and proud to represent all of you in Board District 5. But before we begin tonight, I'd like to take care of a few housekeeping items.
Buenas tardes a todos y a todas y bienvenidos al foro virtual del Distrito 5 del Distrito Unificado de Los Ángeles sobre la reclasificación. Les habló hace unos minutos a Jackie Goldberg, que con orgullo representa al Distrito 5 de la Junta de Educación.
First of all, you can listen to this webinar in English or in Spanish. For Spanish, click the interpretation button at the bottom of your Zoom window and then select Spanish. We have our wonderful interpreters from the LAUSD translation unit translating everything that's being said. So again, if you're at a computer and you want to listen in Spanish, click the interpreter button at the bottom of your Zoom window and then select Spanish. It looks like a globe.
Antes de comenzar, quisiéramos repasar unos puntos generales. Primeramente, pueden escuchar este webinario en inglés o en español. Para escuchar en español, den clic en el botón Interpretación que se encuentra al pie de la pantalla y seleccionen Español. Nuestras maravillosas intérpretes de la unidad de traducción del Distrito Unificado están traduciendo todo lo que estamos diciendo. Así que nuevamente, si están en sus computadoras y desean escuchar en español, den clic en el botón de interpretación al pie de sus pantallas y seleccionen español.
If you have any trouble switching language to Spanish using the interpretation button, you can also use your phone to call into our Spanish audio line, which is already up and running. The number and access code for that are on the invitation to this event.
En caso de dificultades para cambiar al español, con el botón de interpretación pueden escuchar por teléfono llamando a nuestra línea de audio en español, que ya está activada en estos momentos. El número y el código de acceso están en la invitación de este evento.
Second, we have an American Sign Language interpreters as well. To continue to see them throughout the town hall, make sure to keep your Zoom is set to gallery view so that you can see all of us at once. If you're viewing on a mobile device, just swipe to the left until you can see multiple panelists in your screen. Finally, you might notice that only our panelists are visible and audible. As we go through our discussion, we invite you to ask questions by clicking the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We'll then get to as many questions as we can when we get to our question and answer session. Please keep your questions brief. You can write your questions in Spanish if you like, no problem. And don't worry about spelling or proper grammar. We'll get the point of your question. If you're joining us by phone, however, we're not going to be able to take your questions, but you can email any questions you have that aren't asked by others to bd5info@lausd.net. That's the letters BD, the number 5, info, INFO, bd5info@lausd.net, and we will get back to you with your answers in the next few days. My staff will be getting your questions to me on a separate spreadsheet, so don't panic if you see your question disappear from the chat box. You might also see me looking at my phone. That's because I'm getting your questions from them. There are 2 sections to this town hall. From now until 6:30, we have multilingual, multicultural education department here to present on reclassification and to answer your questions. Then at 6:30, we will have our 2 LAUSD doctors join us and take any questions you have on vaccinations, on testing, or anything having to do with COVID. So if you have any questions related to COVID, please wait till 6:30 to ask them. Now, please join me in giving a warm welcome to our guest, Lydia Stephen Acosta, who is the Executive Director of the Multilingual, Multicultural Education Department. She will be guiding us on the reclassification process and will answer questions at the end of the presentation. Take it away, Ms. Stephen Acosta. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Board Member Goldberg. I'm honored to be here with our team. I would also like to thank the Board District 5 team for all your support for all of our English learners. We're honored to be here and be of service. Again, my name is Lydia Acosta Stevens. I'm the Executive Director. I'm a very proud parent of a they, them kiddo. There is my email in case you need to reach out. Oh, and I just noted there's an extra S. It's actually L. Steven for my email. We'll correct that. Sorry about that. You will also be hearing from Dr. Jose Posada, who is our administrator for English Learner Services. There is his email. And Mr. Rafael Escamilla, who is our English Learner Coordinator over all our compliance and help support us in the state. We are here to support all of us to be the light, be of service, and be the solutions, and to take you through the English learner journey, which is a beautiful one. Next. We want you to also know that we're fortunate in California to have a California English Learner Roadmap, which has guiding principles that were also incorporated into our 2018 Master Plan for English Learners and Standard English Learners. These founding documents are critical to the work that we do. They are available in Spanish and English, also on our website. And these documents guide everything that our schools do in terms of policy and instruction for the English learner journey. Next. What is the LA Unified English Learner Journey? It begins with identification. When you complete a home language survey, you get asked a series of questions. And then there's an exam called the LPAC from the state. And while we provide you services, we're working with you, your children, your families, our teachers in our schools toward reclassification. But that is not the end of the English learner journey. Our goal is to help you and support your child and to celebrate your pathway to biliteracy awards in K1, 5th, 6th, 8th grade, and as a high school graduate. It is also part of the California California dashboard. So the English learner journey does not end in reclassification. And I am proud to say that I am an English learner born in General Hospital. Lincoln Heights was where I grew up. And I am proud of being an English learner and of being bilingual. Next. Let's talk about who our students are, who your children are. Sometimes our English learners are students who come from other countries. They're international newcomer students who are born in other countries and can join us at any time. Usually that is 3 years or less that they've been in this country. The next group of English learners are those English learners who are on track, who are moving forward in the English learner development and hopefully also maintaining their home language. Then we have what the state considers our potential long-term English learners. We say at promise. Those are our students that are between 4 years in our programs to 5.9 years who have not reclassified. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with our kids. It just means we have to continue to find ways to support, and language is learned by many students on different time frames. What I consider the danger zone and where we have to act right away is when we have long-term English learners who have not reclassified. And I will tell you that I go to sleep every night going, that is not okay, because I have failed you if we haven't reclassified and we have long-term English learners. Next. Now we're going to be showing a video and we have other speakers as well. So let's move forward on the historical perspective of reclassification.
Go ahead, Elizabeth, plays the video.
You just heard Mr. Rafael Escamilla. This will give you a perspective perfect.
Welcome to the 2019 Los Angeles Unified Reclassification Update, presented by the Multilingual and Multicultural Education Department and the Division of Instruction. In LA Unified, English learners are provided rigorous instructional programs and services so that they achieve English proficiency as quickly as possible and exceed academically by mastering grade-level standards. Let's learn a little about reclassification. Reclassification is by which an English learner is reclassified as fluent English proficient. To be reclassified, an English learner needs to meet the following reclassification criteria. Score overall performance level 4 on the English language proficiency assessments for California, LPAC, pass a grade level skills assessment with a qualifying score, pass their English language arts class with marks of 3 or better in elementary or grades of C or better in secondary. Parents must be informed and consulted when a student is reclassified. Let's discuss some of the changes that will have an impact on our 2019-20 reclassification counts and rate. Due to recent changes in state policy, specifically with the LPAC and reclassification, the state is projecting a statewide drop in reclassification rate. The following are the changes in state policy. The state has fully transitioned to a more rigorous English proficiency assessment, the LPAC. The LPAC now assesses English learners' English language skills in listening, speaking, reading, and writing with integrated content-based academic tasks. The previous state language assessment, the SELT, assessed language skills independently of each other. In November 2018, the State Board of Education, SBE, adopted proposed changes to the scale scores of each performance level on the summative LPAC. This change requires English learners to achieve a higher scale score to get a proficient score on the LPAC. In January 2019, the State Board of Education adopted overall LPAC Performance Level 4 as the proficient score for reclassification. Lastly, with the transition to the LPAC, LA Unified could only implement one summative English language assessment opportunity in the spring. In the fall of 2017, the state provided the district with a one-time only opportunity to implement a SELT retest, which positively impacted our reclassification counts and rate for the 2018-19 academic year. Let's take a closer look at how the LPAC overall scale scores compare from 2017-18 to 2018-19. As you can see on the chart, in 2017-18, an English learner needed an overall LPAC score of 3 maximum to meet proficiency. For the 2018-19 academic year and beyond, the state now requires an overall LPAC level 4 to meet proficiency. As evident on the chart, the scale scores for a proficient score increased in all grades by double digits with the exception of 3rd grade. For example, in 1st grade, a student must score 41 points higher on the LPAC test to be considered proficient. In 8th grade, a student must score 37 points higher to be considered proficient on the LPAC. Given changes in state policy on reclassification and assessments, LA Unified is committed in implementing the highest quality educational programs to ensure English learners achieve the best possible academic results. Historically, there have been state changes in assessments and policy that factored in the reclassification criteria throughout the years. In the spring of 2020, an additional change in the administration of LPAC will take place. The LPAC will be computer-based, moving away from the paper and pencil test administration. In summary, changes in state assessment and reclassification guidelines sometimes impact the number and percentages of English learners who reclassify. The state and LA Unified expects a decline in the reclassification rate in the February CDE reporting of official reclassification rates. Based on past reclassification trends, this is similar to what occurred in 2010-11 when new Common Core state standards were implemented, as in 2012-13 when the ELA/ELD standards and framework were implemented, and in 2015-16 when Smarter Balance assessments were implemented. Based on the newly adopted LPAC scale scores and criterion, a similar pattern is anticipated for the 2019-20 reclassification rate reporting. In alignment with changes in state policy, LA Unified will continue to provide and improve on existing programs and services for English learners, monitor the progress of English learners, and adjust instruction and intervention supports as needed. We will develop and provide designated and integrated ELD professional development opportunities for teachers and support staff. We will target funding for intervention and support of our potential long-term English learners and long-term English learners. We will support and monitor the implementation of individual reclassification plans throughout our district for at-risk ELs. We know we cannot do this work alone. As emphasized in our 2018 Master Plan for English Learners and Standard English Learners, the linguistic and academic success of English learners depends on the collective efforts and supports of all stakeholders in our district. We ask that you join us as equal partners as we adapt to the changes in state and federal assessment and reclassification guidelines to ensure our English learners receive the highest quality education to become English proficient, college, and career ready. For more information, please contact the Multilingual and Multicultural Education Department at 213-241-5582. Thank you for your continued support.
And good evening, I'm Jose Posada, your Administrator of English Language Learners Programs with Los Angeles Unified School District. As a parent of a 5th and 6th grade student in Board District 5, I have taken full advantage of the mail home resources that were developed by the Multilingual Multicultural Education Department. You heard on the video that the LPAC is one of the assessment points or criteria needed to meet to reclassify. To support language development, these resources were developed. For those of you that might be familiar, these resources include constructive conversation skills that provide you as a family with ideas to begin a meaningful conversation with your child. You can use this during math conversations, for example, a math interview perhaps. You can take the constructive conversation chart and engage your child in a math conversation. This chart guides you with what questions to ask and how to paraphrase what your child is saying. Of course, these materials are all provided in Spanish as well. The idea here is that as a family, you should be not limited to just engage in a simple question, such as, did you do your homework? But when using this constructive conversation skills chart, you provide your child with the opportunity to expand the vocabulary they are using. We mailed about 90,000 copies of our K-12 English learner families last year, and we have these materials available in digital form on our MMED website. Rafael, next slide, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Rafael Escamilla. I'm the English Learner Programs Coordinator for the Multilingual Multicultural Education. I'm happy to share that LA Unify is launching the I Am Limitless, We Are Lighting Our World campaign to support our Promise English learners. These Promise English learners are students who, as the video defined, are potential long-term English learners or are long-term English learners who are making progress toward reclassification. In LA Unified, it is district policy that every potential long-term English learners and long-term English learners needs to have an established individual reclassification plan. You might be wondering, what is an individual reclassification plan? Well, the individual reclassification plan is a tool that is available in MISES that actually schools use to support ongoing conversations with the student, the parent, and the teacher around the progress the child is making towards reclassification. What we want to do with this campaign is to share with families and communities as a whole that we are all committed to ensuring that our English learners, our Promise ELs, make progress towards reclassification, but also achieve at high levels. Because the end goal for us is our English learners to graduate college prepared, career ready, with the seal of biliteracy. Also, we want our parents to know that there is someone committed to supporting their child achieve linguistically and academically towards that end goal. These plans, the individual reclassification plans, are plans that are established and monitored on an ongoing basis. Next slide.
Thank you, Mr. Escamilla. We appreciate you sharing that information regarding the individual classification plan and our campaign for the next 3 years. I am limitless. We are lighting our world. Please have your child say that in Spanish, in English, in any language. I am limitless. Every time you give them a hug and tell them you love them. We also now have a new reclassification video that will explain all the steps, and we have them in English and in Spanish. We will be playing the English version for you now as you learn about the English learner journey. Thank you.
Welcome to the LA Unified presentation on English Learner Identification, Reclassification, and Beyond, created by the Multilingual and Multicultural Department Division of Instruction. In Los Angeles Unified, English learners are provided rigorous instructional programs and services so that they achieve English proficiency as quickly as possible and exceed academically by mastering grade-level standards. In this presentation, we will learn about identification of English learners, English language proficiency assessments for California, LPAC, reclassification, monitoring reclassified students, the multilingual vision for LA Unified students. The 2018 Master Plan for English Learners and Standard English Learners lays out the district's vision for educating our culturally and linguistically diverse students. The 2018 Master Plan guiding principles for educating English learners and standard English learners are the following: assets-based education, bilingualism and biliteracy, sociocultural competence, rigorous academics for all, alignment and articulation, and systemic support. The California English Learner Roadmap supports LA Unified in strengthening educational policies, programs, and practices for English learners. It was the foundation for the development of the 2018 Master Plan for English Learners and Standard English Learners. Let's learn about the identification of English learners. The identification begins when a parent or guardian takes their child to a LA Unified school and completes the enrollment packet. A key component of the enrollment process is the Home Language Survey, HLS. The HLS is a questionnaire used to determine the student's primary language and whether the student will be required to take an assessment for English language proficiency. If it is determined that the primary language of a student is not English, the student will take an English language proficiency assessment. The results of the English language proficiency assessment will determine the appropriate instructional
Terminar los servicios de instrucción apropiados.
A home language determination is required only once. The information provided by the parent or guardian on the initial home language survey takes precedence over any information provided on subsequent surveys. Parents or guardians are to receive an explanation regarding the purpose of the home language survey, as well as the possibility that their child may be given an assessment to determine their level of English language proficiency. English learners are students with a primary language other than English in grades ETK to 12 have been identified after taking the initial English language proficiency assessment, LPAC. Identified students are assigned a language classification of English learner, EL. The assessment used to determine whether a student is an English learner is the English Language Proficiency Assessment for California, LPAC. What is the English Language Assessment for California, LPAC? Initial evaluation. It serves as a state-mandated initial evaluation and must be given to students whose primary language is one other than English. Initial LPAC. The mandated state test for determining English language proficiency is the initial LPAC. California and federal law. California and federal law require that local educational agencies administer a state test of English language proficiency to eligible students in expanded transitional kindergarten through grade 12. The summative LPAC must be given annually to EL students to measure progress in learning English and is used for reclassification. For the first time, the state of California will administer a statewide alternate English language proficiency assessment, the alternate LPAC. The alternate LPAC is the state test for English learners with the most significant cognitive disabilities. The alternate LPAC test is now scheduled to be administered during the 2021-22 school year. After taking the initial English language proficiency assessments for California, LPAC, the assessment is scored and a level of performance is determined and assigned to students as follows. Initial Fluent English Proficient, IFEP. At this level, a student has well-developed oral and written English skills. Intermediate English Learner. At this level, a student has somewhat to moderately developed oral and written English skills. A student at this level is classified as an English learner. Novice English Learner. At this level, a student has minimally developed oral and written English skills. A student at this level is classified as an English learner. Based on the initial LPAC results, your child can be novice, intermediate, or IFAP. Families are notified of a student's initial LPAC results through the initial parent notification of language test results and confirmation of program placement. Let's learn about reclassification and the reclassification criteria. Reclassification is the process by which an English learner is reclassified as fluent English proficient and does not need further English language development support. To be reclassified, an English learner needs to meet the established reclassification criteria. For a student to reclassify in elementary, the student needs to meet the following criteria. Obtain an overall performance level 4 on the LPAC. Receive a progress report mark of 3 or 4 in English language arts. Score benchmark or above benchmark in the Basic Skills Assessment DIBELS 8 in all grade level measures, or score standard met or exceeded on the Smarter Balanced assessments in English language arts. After a student has met the reclassification criteria, parents or guardians must be informed and consulted before the student is reclassified. For a student to reclassify in secondary, the student needs to meet the following criteria. Obtain an overall performance level 4 on the LPAC. Receive a grade of C or better in their English or LTEL course. Score basic or above on the Basic Skills Assessment, Reading Inventory, or score standard met or exceeded on the Smarter Balanced assessments in English language arts. After a student has met the reclassification criteria, parents or guardians must be informed and consulted before the student is reclassified. Parents or guardians are informed of the student's reclassification through the notification of reclassification. Once students have reclassified, we continue to monitor their academic progress. Reclassified students are known as RFEPs. Once the English learner is reclassified, the student is monitored for a minimum of 4 years to ensure that the student is meeting or exceeding grade-level academic benchmarks. What is monitored? The areas monitored are mathematics, English language arts, social studies, science, progress monitoring, and summative assessment results. Reclassified students tend to meet and exceed the established benchmarks and as a whole outperform other students groups in LA Unified. The monitoring of RFEP students includes the use of established procedures and data sources. For instance, the Student Support and Progress Team plays a crucial role in the school-wide and individual monitoring of reclassified students. Various data sources, such as the MED EL dashboard and the Whole Child Integrated Data, are used. Parents receive a yearly notification on the progress of their reclassified student. Within this notification, the teacher will make intervention recommendations if the student is not making adequate academic progress. The overall goal for every student in LA Unified is to become multilingual and multicultural. LA Unified is expanding its dual language programs and world language course offerings in an effort to support bilingualism. In connection with the California Global 2030 initiative, our vision in LA Unified is for at least half of all K-12 students to participate in programs leading to proficiency in 2 or more languages and graduate receiving the prestigious Seal of Biliteracy. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. And we do have our video in Spanish and English, and it is available for all local districts. It's available for your schools, and we have it on the website. You can pause, you can start, and you can email us questions at any time or give us a call. I'd like to hand over now to Dr. Jose Posada, who is our administrator over English Learner Services.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lydia Costa-Stevens. If you don't mind doing another click on this, thank you so much. So it is important to know that we are not just employees of this wonderful district we support, but as a proud alum of Logan Elementary, King Junior High School, and Belmont High School, and now a very proud parent of 2 students attending Logan Dual Language Education, we analyze and monitor the programs we provide to all of our English learners very carefully. All English learners have equitable access to all program options in our district. Let me repeat that. All English learners have equitable access to all program options in our district. As an example, my 2 children are enrolled in a dual language education program. Our English learners may participate in gifted and talented programs, provided that they are identified by a bilingual psychologist, attend schools for advanced studies or magnet programs as described in the Choices brochure, where parents may elect to enroll their child in a school for advanced studies or magnet programs, as well as the variety of dual language programs offered in our district. In secondary schools, English learners must have the equitable option to take A through G advanced placement courses, as well as AP courses and world language courses. It is important to know that our bilingual students can take the AP course once they reach 9th or 10th grade. They don't have to wait until they reach 11th or 12th grade to take the AP course, or excuse me, the exam at the secondary level. Next slide, please. This is the pathway we encourage students in all master plan programs to follow. Thanks to our executive director's leadership, Ms. Acosta Stevens, now we are offering a kindergarten and first grade biliteracy award. Being bilingual is extremely important, not because you can communicate with a larger audience, but because your brain develops differently. Please note that your child does not need to be enrolled in a dual language program to participate in the pathway to biliteracy. Our dual language education and world language education team have been presenting to various local district parents how to engage their child with the Pathways to Biliteracy Awards. Students in grades 5, 6, and 8 are able to qualify for the Pathway Award, which sets them on the pathway to qualify for the Seal of Biliteracy in grades 12, graduation time. LA Unified and the state of California offer a Seal of Biliteracy, and it is a distinguished award granted to students who can demonstrate proficiency in English and in any other language other than English. Now, this also includes indigenous languages such as Quiche, which comes from Guatemala, and other languages as well. You can ask your principal how many students receive the State Seal of Biliteracy and how does the school prepare students to qualify. But remember, your child does not have to be enrolled in a dual language education program to participate in the Seal of Biliteracy pathway. Next slide. In collaboration with our parent and community branch and the multilingual education department, we have 2 websites that we would like for you to visit. These 2 websites provide a plethora of information for you to be able to use. Please visit our websites for more tools and ideas as together we support our students achieve their dreams. Thank you so much. Ms. Acosta Stevens.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Rafael. We hope that you will visit our websites. We hope that this information was useful to you, but please, please, what we don't want is for anyone to feel overwhelmed or to worry. Reach out to us. We will find ways to support you, your child, your family, your community, your school. Please reach out to us. We are here for you. We are here to be of service, be the light, and help you with solutions. Thank you, Ms. Goldberg.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks to all of you. We appreciate this. I'm going to start off with the questions that I've most received, and then we'll see if others want to join me in asking their questions. What's the difference between dual language and English as a second language programs?
Rafael, go right ahead.
Good evening. The difference between the 2 programs is in a dual language education, for example, the 2-way dual language education program, a student is learning 2 languages, 2 languages basically. The case For example, it could be a dual language in Spanish where the students are learning Spanish and at the same time they're learning English. Now, the second program, ESL, or second language acquisition, is basically instruction on the second language, and that second language is learning how to speak English, read, write, and comprehend English. So it's a second language acquisition program.
Thank you, Mr. Escamilla. So the way I like to say it is that dual language programs offer you an instructional opportunity to be bilingual within our school system and to embrace two languages. But an ESL program provides you the opportunity to strengthen your English proficiency, but it does not mean to let go of your home language. We want you to still hold on to your home language and use it at home.
Okay, my next question is, I'm a parent of a student who is not reclassifying and we're getting near end of elementary school. What should I be doing as a parent to help my child get closer to being able to be reclassified?
Thank you, Ms. Goldberg. I'll begin with that question and then I'll also hand off to Dr. Posada. The first thing I want you to know is that I take this very seriously and this is very important work to me. And I don't go to bed with any peace unless I know I can help you. As a parent, the most important thing I want to tell you to do first, though, is please tell your child you love them no matter what. Your child knows they haven't reclassified. And the most important thing is to support them with the love that you believe in them. The second thing is have a conversation with your teacher as soon as possible and ask what is happening with the individual reclassification plan. And there are many things that you can do to support your child at home. One of the first things is your literacy that your child has in another language at home will help them reclassify in English. It's very important to do that, to continue to strengthen that. If you're not able to do that, create many, many opportunities to have your child speak in both languages in a safe space and not to be judged. And they need to have opportunities to write. So buy them journals, have them talk about their feelings and write those things. And as often as you can, try to get them to the library and to check out books from school. Dr. Posada?
I think you hit all the points very well. One that I would like to emphasize, though, is making sure that you communicate with the teacher, the classroom teacher. That is key in order for you to understand where your child has been and where your child needs to go. And to reiterate what you just heard, you need to have a plan, and that plan cannot begin without the teacher having that conversation with you. And remember, it's a joint effort. If your child is in 5th grade and has not reclassified, it is important for us to understand where the child began. The child began in kinder. Now this child has been in our program for about 6 years at this point. Or did the child begin in 3rd grade? Now the child has been in our program for about 2-3 years, depending on how early in 3rd grade the child began. And please know that learning a second language is not something that is done overnight. Research says that it takes between 4 to 6 years, and some research says 7, but we go with the 6, to learn a second language. So please understand, as Ms. Acosta mentioned, the journey. It is a journey. And if we hold hands together, we will make that journey together and succeed.
Now, some people have told me that my student can't take certain classes in middle school and high school as long as I'm in ESL. Is that true? And doesn't that keep me from learning other things that I should be learning?
What happens if you're still in ELD courses, it does take up a course in your class, but you still have the rights and the opportunities to take electives and other programs. I will have Mr. Escamilla and Dr. Posada speak to that as well.
Yes, as Dr. Prasad mentioned during the presentation, every student, including English learners, have the right to take advanced placement courses, electives, gifted and talented programs. It's their right. Now, if they are learning a second language, sometimes that might take extra time within their schedule to fit in. Do note that school is willing to work with all parents to ensure the best instructional program for the child, to ensure that the child learns English and achieves academically. As a parent, you have the right to select the best instructional program for your child. I advise you to go to your school and look at all the program options and select that program you feel will best meet your child's needs.
Can I get into gifted and talented classes if I'm a second language learner still in my ELD program? Will they test me even?
Absolutely, Board Member Goldberg. It is extremely important for our families to understand that just because you are an English learner, it doesn't mean that you have the cognitive ability to be identified as a gifted student. And yes, this is something that we work with our gifted and talented office. We have workshops that are provided for our school staff as well as families to understand, how that process works. Once again, our website, has information as well that can support our families.
Okay, well, you've given us a lot of good information. Before we wrap this up, I want to ask just one more key question that comes up all the time. Can you tell me some strategies that I, as a parent, should be using all the time with my children? Because I don't speak any English. How do I help them learn more English? What can I do? What strategies work? What works? If I can't help them learn English, well, help me. I don't know what to do.
Oh, sorry. One of the first things that we have, and I'll pass to Dr. Posada as well, who's also a parent, is he referenced our constructive conversations. And we have those in English and Spanish. Actually, we have them in multiple languages. So what parents can do in that home resource is use those in the language they speak at home, but then share them with your child and let your child respond in English or even in Spanish, because just learning the exchange of language will transfer over into the classroom. Jose?
So thank you. And so we all eat, right? All of us eat, whether it's going to a restaurant or a takeout or even cooking at home. So I'm going to use the example, Board Member Goldberg, of cooking at home. I cook at home. I have my daughter who's now 10 and my son who's now 12, in the kitchen. And we have the best conversations, not just about the ingredients that we're using, but just getting to know each other. The point here is, as long as we get our students or children to talk, it doesn't matter when or where. Please help us get them to talk. As we know, devices now have taken over, and some of our students or children are so stuck to them. But please, if you're in the kitchen making tortillas or bean soup or what have you, that conversation is so valuable. The ingredients, you can have math conversations, 3/4 of rice, 2 cups of water. What does that make, right? And so those conversations that you can have, by the way, English or Spanish or any language, extremely helpful.
Okay, one parent has now a specific question. My son has a level 4 in the test, Will he be reclassified automatically? Or do I need to take some steps? I haven't received any notifications.
Achieving an LPAC level 4, it's the first requirement for reclassification. There's other elements that need to be in place. Please rest assured that the school is monitoring the progress of every child and reclassifying those that met the reclassification criteria.
So what besides level 4 do I need for my son?
Yes, the child needs to achieve, depending on the level, needs to achieve benchmark on the grade level skills assessment, and also pass the ELA class at elementary level 3 or 4, at the secondary with C or better. Those are the requirements need to be in place in order for the child to be reclassified. I invite you to go speak with the EL designee at the school site to analyze the progress your child is making towards reclassification. But yes, congratulations, your child met the first element of the reclassification criteria.
So I work all day. How do I meet with these people at school?
Well, the wonderful thing with Zoom and every opportunity that we have now is that we have been forced to learn new ways to communicate. Many teachers respond to emails, call the school, just let them know what time you need to speak to someone. And honestly, if you do not get a response from your school, because there's a lot happening at schools, reach out to my office, email me, and we will support you. There will always be help.
Excellent, excellent. I think there's a lot of misinformation because I've had parents call me up and tell me my kid can't get tested for gifted because he's in ELD classes. I've had parents tell me that my child could not get into algebra 2. It wasn't algebra 1, it was algebra 2 because somebody thought they didn't know enough English to take algebra 2. So I think we need to be spending some extra time at the district level to work with our COSAs, to work with our local districts, because there a lot of parents, the reason we held this one tonight is because I was getting so many parents telling me, why can't my kid get into a gifted and talented program? Why can't they get tested? Why can't they go to a certain magnet school? And I told them that there was nothing in being a student who's a second learner of English that keeps you out of any magnet school, but they don't believe it. So I'm here saying to you first, thank you. Thank all of you, Lydia Costa Stevens and Rafael Escamilla and Jose Posada. Thank you, all of you, for helping us, but I am also challenging you to help us get word out to parents of students who are learning English as a second language, that really we don't restrict them from learning or trying other things or going other places or being tested for gifted or anything else. That the one problem might be that you have less space in your class schedule in middle and high school because you're still taking an ELD class, but that's it. And boy, if you say that to parents, I tell you, they say, I don't have it right. So please do that for us. Will you all help us get more information to community reps so that they can be sure to give the right information to parents? Okay, I think I really just want to end with this by saying that the one thing that I think is the most important to remember is that language builds upon another. The more Spanish you know, the better your English will be. So parents who are Spanish speakers, I love that you're trying to learn English too. I'm still struggling learning Spanish, but don't give up working with your children to become really good at Spanish, because everything they learn in Spanish, they will apply to English. And it's just, they just build one top of one another. So I know parents who have said to me, I've stopped speaking Spanish at home. And I say, boy, I'm sorry you're doing that, because, you know, a person in this country who is truly bilingual, they're very prized. And that's really a good thing to be. And I'm still struggling with Spanish, although I've been working on it for a long time. So I know I can appreciate how hard this all is. But parents, please, if you speak Spanish well, please, please, please talk to your kids in Spanish, read to Spanish, sing in Spanish, take them places in Spanish, do whatever you can, because everything they know in Spanish will help their English. Okay, am I right? Am I right? I was taught this a long time ago, but I think I'm right about that.
You're absolutely right.
Okay,
That
good.
is why our campaign is I am limitless.
Oh, there you go.
Kiddos are limitless and they light our world. Thank you, Ms. Goldberg.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate all of you who have come to spend time with some of my constituents. I think we're a little getting to the point where a little bit zoomed out, because this was one of the most fervent requests I had, and we didn't have a very large crowd tonight, and I'm sorry about that, but I'm really glad that the people who did come got really good information. So now we're about to segue into the last half hour of this program, because I've also gotten a lot of questions from parents, particularly parents of 5 to 11-year-olds, about vaccination. Is it safe? Are my kids safe? Should I take the chance of having them vaccinated? So we're about to have two of our wonderful LAUSD talented doctors to sign on in a couple of minutes. And for the last 30 minutes of this particular evening, you may ask them any question you want about vaccines, about COVID, about testing, or anything having to do with the district's COVID-19 policies. So let me thank once again all of you from the multilingual, multidisciplinary organization of our district that helps us with all of these language issues. And let me say to you parents, I'm looking forward to your children graduating with the seal of bilingual and biliteracy. Okay, so now I'm going to spend a moment welcoming Dr. Malhotra and Dr. Franco. I see we've got two people here very well. We have a small crowd tonight, doctors. I'm surprised, but it happens. I think everybody's getting tired, or maybe they're out shopping for Thanksgiving. I'm not sure. But I do see that there may be some questions. So let's, instead of waiting for the questions, let me just ask the basic question. Why should a parent consider seriously having a child 5 to 11-year-old vaccinated when it seems that they don't get it as bad as other people do, when it seems like, you know, we've had some deaths, but very few? Why should I take that risk? Is it really safe? Because I'm nervous. I may get my 12 to 18-year-old vaccinated, but I'm not sure about my little ones. So either one of you, would you just kind of take us through why you think it's a good idea? If you do.
I certainly do, but I'm going to let Dr. Malhotra take this one because she actually has a daughter within the 5 to 11-year age range, and she made the decision to vaccinate her daughter. So
Very
you take this one.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Franco. First of all, I'm so glad you're here as my friend and colleague. I could not do this without you. Yes, I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I got her vaccinated at our school vaccination sites. Honestly, she also spoke about why she was getting vaccinated, and it was honestly one of the most proud moments of my life. I strongly believe in the COVID-19 vaccinations. Yes, the younger kids do not get affected as often, but when we take into account, you know, right now, COVID-19 is a vaccine preventable disease. 500 children 18 and younger have died from COVID-19. 125 of them have been in the ages of 5 to 11. No parent should lose a child to a vaccine preventable disease. And that is why I vaccinated my own child, because I do not want to lose my child to a vaccine preventable disease. And it's not just hospitalization and death, you know, it's long-term effects of COVID. There is something called long COVID, where children have fatigue, memory loss, difficulty concentrating. And so really, as parents, we have a choice. Do we take, the path of prevention, where we help our children not even have a lower chance of getting COVID, or do we take the risk? And so I chose to take that path of prevention. And I invite Dr. Franco to share her thoughts on this as well.
I'm going to interrupt just for a moment. There have been some people who've just joined us recently. You will see at the bottom Q&A. If you have questions for the doctors, please put them in Q&A and then I'll ask them out loud. Okay? Okay, go ahead, Dr.
Great.
Franco.
Great, thank you. Yes, thank you for having us. Yes, I love working with Dr. Malhotra. I always feel more secure when we're working together. But so yes, it is about protecting the child and making that decision to protect your child from a vaccine preventable disease. It's also about us having a responsibility to our communities and to our family as well. We all want to get back to our normal lives, right? But until we stop, until we take measures to prevent people from getting infected and spreading it to others, it's going to be very difficult for us to get back to our normal lives. So by children also getting vaccinated, then we have less people getting infected and less people spreading the illness. So we protect not only our children, but their loved ones and the community. And that's also very important and a responsibility that I think we all should take.
So why do we hear so much about how dangerous this vaccination is? Is it dangerous, and to whom is it dangerous?
So there is unfortunately, a lot of misinformation and hype out there about the risks of the vaccine, and anything that we do in life, including vaccinations, there's always what we call a risk and benefit to the things that we do. But the benefits of the vaccines by far outweigh the risks, by far. There are potential risks to getting the vaccine, and we do talk to our patients about this because that is our responsibility as physicians, as medical providers, to not only talk about the benefits, but also talk about the risks. But those risks are very, very rare. And the most common risk would be the usual side effects that we get from getting any vaccine, not just the COVID-19 vaccine. Most common being, pain and swelling at the site of the injection. You could also have maybe some fever, some body aches. Those are the most common, and they usually go away within a day to 3 days max on their own without even having any treatment. And what these side effects actually are telling you is that the vaccine is working to produce, a good immunity against the virus. Although you don't have to have these side effects for the vaccine to work well. Just everybody's different and reacts differently to the vaccines. There are other potential side effects, but quite honestly, they're extremely rare, and the potential ill effects that you can get from actually getting sick from COVID-19 are much, much higher, 16 to 20 times higher than if you were to get, COVID even after being vaccinated. And yes, sometimes people get infected after being vaccinated, but again, the risk of getting infected after vaccination is extremely low, and those people tend to get better much faster. And tend to not get very sick.
So I get told by parents all the time, well, my kid has natural immunity. I think they had COVID already once. So why should somebody who's already had it get vaccinated?
Do you want to take this one, Dr.
Yeah.
Malhotra?
So, what we have found is that the natural immunity, the time that you are immune is pretty random. For some people, it's 3 months. For some people, it's 1 month. But the immunity from getting vaccinated, we know, is at least 6 to 9 months. And so that is a much more tangible amount of time that you are immune. So when you're looking at a public health perspective, you want someone who's vaccinated, who we know that is immune for this amount of time versus this natural immunity. In addition, what public health has shared with us is that those people who've had COVID-19, who recover and then get vaccinated, have an even greater immune response. and are even more protected. And so even if you've had COVID-19, it is recommended that you get vaccinated because you're going to have an even greater immune response. You're going to protect yourself. You're going to protect everyone around you. And so, yes, there is natural immunity, but it's not guaranteed. It's not random, and we don't know how long it lasts. Vaccination is the best protection against COVID-19.
Will kids get infertile, become infertile when they grow up if they've been vaccinated?
There's no evidence of that. Yeah, there's no evidence absolutely that there's problems with, menstrual periods or with fertility after getting vaccinated.
So this actually came from misinformation on social media. We know that COVID-19, the vaccine is the blueprint for the spike on the COVID-19 virus. And so there's another spike protein that helps in fertility, which is syncytin-1. And people on social media coordinated these two spike proteins. And this came from a lot of misinformation. These two spike proteins are not related. And this is just misinformation multiplying itself. So it is not going to cause fertility problems in children. This is the direct result of misinformation.
So one parent wrote in and said, well, vaccines don't prevent the spread of COVID. The studies have shown this. What studies are you using? Who will assume the liability for vaccine injuries?
So the information that we get is from vetted, very trusted sources of medicine. The CDC, our local county Department of Public Health, our California Department of Public Health. So, we don't get our information from sources like, social media, Facebook. We get our information from vetted studies from a lot of different medical organizations, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Kaiser Family Foundation. I mean, I could go on and on. So Dr. Malhotra, I don't know if you want to add to that.
So we have a steering committee.
Does the vaccine prevent spread?
The vaccine decreases the risk of spread. So if you are vaccinated, you're much less likely to get COVID-19, and you're much less likely to spread COVID-19. In fact, the LA County Department of Public Health has been studying the spread of COVID-19 among vaccinated individuals, and they are much less likely to spread COVID-19 compared to unvaccinated individuals. And so we know that, think of it, I heard this great analogy, think of it as a game of telephone, right? You have this information spreading to different people, but then you have one vaccinated person and they're covering their ears, and you're just blocking that spread from passing. And so that is what vaccination does. It blocks that transmission of the virus. It blocks the possibility of new variants emerging. And so we've gotten our information from the Department of Public Health, our partners at Johns Hopkins, our partners at Stanford, and our partners at UCLA. And so we have a steering committee that meets every Friday that gives us advice on the next steps to take.
Well, I have a 14-year-old daughter, one person wrote, who does not want to get vaccinated. She is afraid and anxious and wants to wait a few more months. But what can the district do in a case like this? I'm worried about her missing the opportunity to go to school in person if she waits. I urgently need an answer. I'm going to take part of that. We will not be able to accommodate any youngster 12 and older beginning January 10th at school who is not vaccinated. They will be given an opportunity and required actually to attend the online academy called City of Angels. I know that your question is, you don't want that to happen. At this point, there is virtually no way that we will start making exceptions for children because they're afraid. And that doesn't mean I'm not aware of children being afraid. I have a member of my family who is one of those people who is really afraid of any vaccination. It takes like 5 people to hold him down to just give him his flu shot. So I get it. I get it. I am not unsympathetic to your 14-year-old being afraid, particularly since there's been so many myths, misinformation about what really happens. However, I will tell you that the district will not accommodate people who are unwilling or unable because of fear on campuses. We will have them at the City of Angels. And here's the deal. If, as your daughter waits a few months, and she's been in the City of Angels, maybe January and February, and she's now not afraid. She's met other kids who've gotten vaccinated and she's overcome her fears. She can go back to her school. We do not take her seat away. We do not say, nope, she's not welcome anymore at School X. We don't do that at all. But we have made a decision as a board that the health and safety of people is really vital, adults and children alike, and that the only way we can do the best we can in the area of safety is to say, after January 10th, if you're not vaccinated, you're not going to be in a regular classroom. There are a few exceptions because of federal law for homeless people and for kids of military families and for foster kids. But even they will only have 30 days before we will encourage them to vaccinate again. So I do want you also to know that there are some rewards for vaccination starting January 10th. For example, if you are fully vaccinated on January 10th, there will be no more testing. You're done. All done, no testing, all done. Another big advantage of being vaccinated is that if you're vaccinated, fully vaccinated, and 85% of your fellow students are vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask outside at all. No masks outside. Another advantage of being vaccinated is that should somebody near you show up with COVID and you would normally be sent home for quarantine, if you're vaccinated, we're going to quarantine you at school, not at home. So there are rewards for being vaccinated starting January 10th. So I'm encouraging all of you to do so. I know that this is not an easy problem, and I don't want to make light of it. But if you are fortunate enough to have health plan, Medi-Cal, Medicaid, or Kaiser, or anything else, please encourage your children and you to talk to them directly, your own doctor, about what it is they know about these vaccines. I think that's the best advice I can give, because you know, it is a terrible thing to have people in politics spreading misinformation, elected officials, telling people things that aren't true and making your 14-year-old afraid. Nobody has to make one of my grandchildren afraid. He's afraid of all vaccines, and not a vaccine, just of the needles. He's not afraid of the vaccines at all, just the needles. So we know this is an issue all the way around. And I don't want anyone to ever tell you that there's something wrong with your 14-year-old for being afraid. There's nothing wrong with her, but we need to help her because she wants to be in school with her peers. You want her to be there. And all of us believe that it is safe for her to do so. I feel for you. I really do. It's a terrible situation. We also have a few situations that I'm being told about in high schools where the kids want to get vaccinated and the parents won't let them. What would you tell to a parent whose kid is saying, Mom, I want to be vaccinated, and the parent's saying no? What could you do that might help that kid? What could you say, doctors?
Well, I would definitely, this is something that we do in our clinics every day. And I just want to say that We have 14 stationary clinics with nurse practitioners and communicable disease nurses and school physicians that work at these clinics, and we're here to answer any questions. And these are the kinds of questions that do come up sometimes. So what we do is, we're honest with the families, and we'll let them know that there are minor risks in getting vaccines, and we explain those to them. But we also explain to them that, again, the benefits far outweigh the risks. And that getting the illness that this vaccine can prevent can cause other serious problems. And we would never want to have our child have to suffer both short-term and long-term, and often and sometimes serious consequences from getting an illness that we know we could have prevented with getting a vaccine. So, I mean, we're sensitive to the questions, and we're sensitive to the fears, and we're not going to lie to you. We're going to tell you the truth, and we're not going to not talk to you about the risk of getting the vaccine, the potential rare, very rare risk of getting the vaccine. But we are going to emphasize and encourage that you get your children vaccinated, because that's what we do with our kids. We do that with our kids because we love our kids and we want them to be safe. And our job is to help educate the community and help the community be safe.
All right, we have a question about myocarditis. I don't think we can ever get through one of these without that. So I understand that some children who've received the shots have gotten myocarditis. I heard there was a study, and some of the children in the study still have myocarditis. Is myocarditis long-term? And is that what happens if you get vaccinated and you're a young boy?
No, the risk of getting myocarditis with the vaccine is extremely rare. In fact, if you get COVID, you can get a different form of inflammation of the heart, which can lead to more serious and long-term complications. Hold on.
You're saying if you get the disease itself, the myocarditis you get is more harmful than if you were one of the 1 in 100 million that got it from the shot?
Potentially, yes, more harmful. There have been hospitalizations and deaths from inflammatory conditions to the heart that were caused by the infection. Whereas with the vaccine is extremely rare, and most of the children that have gotten myocarditis have gone back to their normal life within a couple of weeks. If you do have symptoms that may be due to myocarditis, you should see your doctor right away. And in these cases with the vaccine that have occurred, which again, I have to keep re-emphasizing are extremely rare, these kids with minimal treatment have gotten better very quickly. And none of those cases have been, I would say like 99% of those cases have not been serious cases.
I would just like to add that the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices that advises the CDC has looked at all of these cases and has actually determined that the myocarditis from vaccination is actually what they call a mild myocarditis, just as Dr. Franco said. None of them have resulted in hospitalization or death, versus the myocarditis from COVID disease, which is much worse, can result in hospitalization, can lead to death. And so based on this information, the FDA and the CDC still recommends vaccination for all children that are eligible.
I think I just have one more question, and I've sort of answered it, but I'll answer it again. The question is, what kind of attendance benefits do kids who are vaccinated reap? If they're exposed, is there a difference in vaccination versus not vaccinated? If kids are vaccinated and they're exposed to a known COVID, can they still get a daily pass? The answer to that is yes, they can still get a daily pass, because if you are, oh dear. Am I still here? Help.
We can see you.
Okay.
You're still here.
You guys disappeared off my screen, so I thought I disappeared off yours. Okay, so what we can tell you is that you quarantine at school. You do not go home at all if you are vaccinated, even if you've been exposed to someone who has COVID. So that's a big benefit in terms of attendance. You do not have to go home and be isolated if you have been exposed to someone who has COVID, if you are fully vaccinated. That's the point. The point is, we don't think you're going to get it, so we're not going to force you to go home. We're going to deal with your issue by having you have some testing at school, but you'll be still in your classes and everything will be fine. So that, I believe, was the last question. I'm going to just check quickly with my little list here. I don't see any more. Let me look one more time. Oh, okay. Someone wants to know why we're still having vaccine requirements and why we won't change any of this, and is this done all around the country? Let me tell you the difference between LA Unified and every other school district in the country. We have never closed a school once it opened. Not one single school. Not one single. We are the only district of any size that has never closed a school once we reopened in April.
And we're the second largest in the country.
And we're the second largest in the country. Let me tell you another thing about LA Unified and health and safety. We've had 21 total cases where there's been in-school transmission. That means where someone caught it from someone else at school. 21 total. That's like nothing. And it's because we follow the science. So if you're asking me seriously, if that was a serious question, why are we still doing this? I'll tell you why. We have Dr. Malhotra, we have Dr. Franco, we have UCLA Medical, we have Stanford Medical, and we have Johns Hopkins Medical. Board of Education makes policy based on one thing and one thing only: science. And the best chance of keeping every child and every adult in our system healthy and safe in the middle of a pandemic, which, by the way, is not over. It is not over. It is not over. We are still having thousands of people dying in this country every day. Not hundreds, not tens, thousands are dying every day. This is a serious issue, and you are about to go on vacation. Some of you will leave the state, some of you will leave the country. We ask you to take every precaution you can, get vaccinated before you leave if you can, and please wear your masks and social distance. Okay, I don't see any more questions. Let me check one more time. I see no more. So I'm going to say thank you to Drs. Franco and Malhotra, and say to all of you at home, we don't have these meetings because we think these are easy questions. We know that all of us want only the best for our children. But the Board of Education, I being a part of it, what we try to do is to find out the best science we can, and then not be afraid to do what we're called upon to do. And that is to say that we are going to do everything we can to keep everyone healthy and safety in our schools. So with that, I want to thank my staff, Fabiola Vilches, Sharon DeLugich, Alejandro Leon, Danny Palma, not sure who else is still on. I want to certainly thank our doctors, Dr. Franco, Dr. Malhotra, and I want to thank all of the people who've made this possible to be understood in Spanish, our interpreters, and our ASL interpreters as well. So please have a safe holiday time. We'll see you all back after the vacation time. Be well, do everything you can. You know, I did read one interesting, I'm gonna leave with one little thing before we close. 75% of the people polled in the United States said they were only going to have Thanksgiving with immediate family members. I think that's amazing. People get it. They get it. This isn't over. I wish it were, but it isn't. So with that, I want to thank everyone who made this possible. I want to thank all of you for joining us. I see one more question. Do I have one more? Thank you, agree. I think the benefits are many, and I hope we continue to focus on that and remind all of us that we as community benefits. Right, when my kids are fully vaccinated, we can also eat indoors in my community. It's the same requirement. Thanks for staying firm. Hi, where can I vaccinate my 8-year-old daughter? I'm going to let you answer that question as our last question. Where can her 8-year-old daughter get vaccinated?
You can go onto the Daily Pass and click on make a vaccination appointment. And you can make a vaccination appointment at one of the mobile sites. But also, if you go into the LAUSD website, Safe Steps, there are actually 14 clinics now that are providing the COVID vaccine. We are LAUSD run clinics. We've been here for decades providing many vaccines and other services. Please call one of our clinics to make an appointment.
We would be proud to vaccinate your 8-year-old daughter.
And I think you can even go to CVS, can't you?
You can go to CVS, yes.
Yes, you can go to CVS.
Walgreens.
It's free there, Walgreens. And of course, if you're lucky and you have a medical plan, your medical plan will be happy to do it free. But you can also go to a middle school or a high school, some of which are open till 7 o'clock at night, when they have their mobile vaccination unit. And you can find all of that on achieve.lausd.net/COVID.
And it's always free, always.
Always free, always free. So let's everybody do everything we can to have a safe, happy holiday season. Thank you all so much for joining. Oh, hold it, maybe one more. Let me quick look. Oh, okay. Thank you. Yay, thank you from Connie Pedrosa. Danny, what would you? Okay. All right. I think we're done. And I thank you all so much. I know you've been working hard all day. You've fed your families. You've got lots of homework perhaps to do with some of them. Thanks for joining us. I'm so proud to represent you. It is really my pleasure. Have a safe and wonderful evening. Good night.